All right. Hi, everybody. First of all, thank you for giving me the opportunity to speak about my new endeavor. I think the timing of this call is almost perfect. The official launch day was last Friday, so it's only 3 days into the official new venture. So yeah, let's start with. For those of you who don't know who I am, I've been in security testing for about 14 years now. I've been a security analyst during Danish Technology Labs. Um, I started off with a passion for target attacks and advanced threats and so on. So when we started SC Labs, I was one of the initial 5 staff members there, which led on to being the tech lead there, eventually the CTO. Um, I am now CEO of Artifact Security, which feels weird to say. Take some time to get used to it. And I've been an AMTSO board member since 2024 last year. Yeah, I've been attending members for about 9 or 10 years. I don't remember exactly. I think it was Malaga was my first one. I don't know how long exactly that was ago. So let's get into artifact security and why start new. I've always had a passion for innovation and finding new technologies, new methodologies, and new ideas. I really want to start something that's really focused on that area of security. Um, I think for the last few years in my various roles, one of the constant complaints from both customers and security vendors are a bit of lacking of understanding of expectations. There would be always complaints about, hey, we tested X vendor and they don't do what they're supposed to do. Or the vendor comes and says that, hey, they didn't actually test us properly. I think there needs to be a lot more education and faster innovation when it comes to approaching new technologies in security. I'm starting to get better at the marketing side, but I guess the marketing sentence from my side is next gen products, next gen testing. So if there's one thing that you take away from today is that we will always look to approach emerging technologies or new areas and to develop new testing for it. We have a core set of services, which I'll go through in a second, but that is the main focus of the company is to always go for something new. So our testing is split into certifications and evaluations. I thought it's important to start off by separating the two. Due to the forum that's here, I won't spend too much time on this slide. We have a malware detection testing service that is focused on validating a security approach. And like David and Randy were saying in their previous talks, in industries with a lot of industry standards and regulatory compliance requirements, you really need to look at certifications there. And usually shows, hey, our product does what it says on the tin. It doesn't differ. It's not a test to differentiate between them and other vendors in the market, but it's there to verify that it does what it says. And then we have the more complex evaluations that can be done for various different reasons, to show market position, to show how you're up against the other fields. And these are usually for either disruptors or market leaders that want to establish where they are. Hopefully, this is where also engineering and marketing benefits happen. Very quickly, in terms of complexity, we have certifications, evaluations, and what we're calling at Artifact Security as comprehensive product evaluations. And the effort that goes on both sides from both the testers and the security vendors or participants in these really increase the further down, the further up you go this chart. and it's something that really needs to be kept in mind when it comes to approaching test labs. I think this is really not just for Artifact and but also for everybody. So just very quickly, a certification is done. Uh, it's laid out roughly like this, where we have the deployment phase, where the product or solution is deployed. We have technical points at technical points of contact set up. We validate that the product works. And once the test starts, the vendor doesn't have access to the test environment. Hopefully everything goes well, and you get your certificate and award logos at the end. When you move on to evaluations, things get a bit more complex here, where you get a lot more information of things such as initiating files, you get PCAPs, you get attacker logs. The report at the end is also a lot more complex. And there's usually a lot more space for mistakes due to the complexity of it. So retests are a lot more important when it comes to it. One policy that we have our Artifact is that when it comes to retests, they are allowed within the agreed feedback timeline, as long as if it's a product improvement that happens because of the testing, as long as it impacts the customer-facing build at the end of the test, they can be built into the report. Otherwise, any misses and so on should reflect what the product performance was. Obviously, retests for test framework malfunctions or test errors are exactly exempt from the policy. And then the very last type of service we have is the CPE, and this is where we get into more strategic evaluation, where we have to have a closer feedback loop between the test lab and the stakeholders, either within the security vendor or the enterprise, where we really try to look also at competitive report of okay, let's see what features um, are and how they implemented, rather than just the efficacy of it, and obviously still get all of the other perks of the previous level. So those were the service types. Let's go over a bit of the evaluations and certifications themselves. Just a note, through all the next few slides, there will be QR codes on the slides. If you want to go to the relevant methodology, you can scan it. I promise it's not some form of phishing or anything like that. But throughout each of our evaluations, the focus is to get usable metrics for both product engineering and the consumer of the product. And all of the methodologies were set up with that in mind, in terms of the reporting type, the data that we collect, and the data that we share. We strive to be as transparent as we can, and that comes into various forms that I'll talk to you about later on. I will not go into exact details of each methodology. We will have a lot of content coming out on our website and so on that covers each of these. But to start with, the three core evaluations that we are offering are the advanced persistent testing, cloud and identity, and AI-powered SOC. You have the sort of target markets for them in the table, but they're pretty self-explanatory. I'll cover them in a second. And we also have various auto certification using the RTTL system that Alex so gladly talked about. When it comes to the APT evaluation, it's focused on EDR, NDR, and XDR, the usual detection and response style products. The cloud and identity one is more focused on managed products, but there is tailoring for ITDR and email. The corpus of it is flexible, as it is a blind test. So with the APT evaluation, you get to see in big picture terms what the attacker what sort of attack are you expecting? Think of the announcements that MITRE used to do for the evaluations in years past. But for the cloud and identity side, you don't know what you're up against. So it's a different kind of way to evaluate yourself. And when it comes to targeting email, for example, that corpus is mostly focused on things like BEC scenarios, phishing, or advanced email evasion methods. So to go in a bit more detail for each of these, if we start with the APT services, I said I will not go into the methodology details. There's a QR code over there. I will probably do more talks about this in later town halls. But we set up our evaluation with three sequences in mind when it comes to the attacker. The first one being intrusion, where we focus on the initial delivery mechanisms of the target organization. Then you go into the infiltration stage, where we focus on execution, persistence, privilege escalation of that first box, and propagation, that is looking at how the attacker moves the organization. Throughout all of this, this is all done from start to finish when it comes to looking at the detection efficacy rating. For protection, we are trying to also look at natural stopping points during the attack where we can go back and assume compromise at the previous sequence, so we can really find a deeper detail when it comes to results. And as with a lot of the protection testing, we also have false positives when it comes to this. This sort of testing is done in the industry as well. The key aspect that is different to others are the capabilities assessments. And we are also going to look for the breadth and the depth of response options here. So really trying to focus on that response side of things. In the methodology, you'll see we have what we call blue responses. So we keep matching attacker tradecraft to MITRE's attack, which is great. But what we should also try to look at is let's look at the mitigations that are available and what each solution gives to the customer. And recently, MITRE also announced their defense taxonomy. So we'll be happy to use that when it comes to it. These are given as separate ratings than the total accuracy rating. So you'll still get your, hey, we're great at dealing with this tradecraft, but this is more about how the product is used, which also then goes into detection engineering and sort of the customizability and the options for the user or the organization to target the capabilities for their environment and their security concerns. Later on, we have the cloud and identity evaluation. This is split into three different operations, and this is why when it comes to the target market for this is focused on managed detection and response, but then it can also be tailored just for ITDR or just for email. Obviously, a subset of, the corpus will be done. The way that this is run, we have behavior baselining for a couple of weeks where the tested solution can see what normal behavior of the target organization. So this is quite common when it comes to these deployments where you learn about the organization. And after those 2 weeks, it can be adjusted if it's not necessary or if there's more time necessary. We then try to abuse established relationships, but at the same time try to go for specific cloud scenarios. The metrics that we're looking at here are a bit different. So we also look at alert efficiency here. So because we have that sort of baseline behavior, it's not just for the product to learn about the environment, it's also for us to see how the product operates while it's not under the attack. We've done a lot of research here where it comes to the balance and the context of these metrics that I'll talk to about more in the powered SOC, AI powered SOC evaluation. But it's important to understand the sort of increase of work that security products add to SOCs, or maybe hopefully it gives them less work to do. Legitimate behavior is executed as well during the attacking period, so it's not just hey, it was only done during the behavior baselining. So while the tests are going on, there will also be legitimate behavior happening. When it comes to the cloud scenarios, we have the same three sequences that we talked about during the APT evaluation. We apply them to cloud scenarios, as while the tradecraft will be different, the way the attack is done end to end it still applies. And because this is a sort of hands-on evaluation, we have also this post-compromise rating where we're allowing to see and to showcase what actual analysis on a potential compromise and how the data is enriched after the malicious activity happened, which is quite different than usual metrics that you get. The biggest and the most complex evaluation that we have is the AI-powered SOC. AI is on everybody's lips. So I really wanted to get a methodology that looks at how much value AI especially brings to a SOC. This is a very complex evaluation. So it is run under our CPE service type. And it's also split into three operations. One that's focused on detection, one that's focused on proactive operations, and one that tests for workflows that really works on data gain from those first two stages. There's a bigger flow chart that this is part of, and there's a lot more information that's going to come out of this. But just to talk about a few of the key metrics that we're looking at here, we've done our own research by interviewing SOC analysts of different levels, SOC managers of different products as well, to try to understand what they sort of prefer from a product. And I was sort of really hoping that I can get this is the kind of product that we need a solid, not black and white, but close to it. Speaking to different people, where if you ask them, hey, would you prefer to have a product that lights up and has thousands of alerts, but gives you great visibility, or would you rather have a product that doesn't give you the same visibility, but it's less prone to false positives? False positives is a very weird discussion when it comes to this, which I'll go into details at a later talk. The answers were about 50-50. And when you look at reports from SANS Institute, for example, it was good confirmation from us that similar data confirms that, because it is down to what each organization prefers and what they have in their own environment. So our idea with this evaluation is to give both product managers and the engineering side different reports and different metrics that helps both. So an organization needs to understand that just because a product has, a great time to contain and to remediate, they need to understand the context behind that. So they need to put that all in perspective with all the other key metrics that we have. So these are just some of the few. We have alert efficiency, we have the typical detection accuracy and false positive rate, but the more complex ones are things like time to initial understanding. And what we're talking about there is um, time to sort of understand how the attacker came in and to understand the first basics of the incident, not to the full complexity of it that comes later into time to devise and implement. This is a very hands-on evaluation, and if I go back to the previous slide, that SOAR validation is really where we call it validation because we want to see in this how improvements to what the tradecraft was and how it impacts the target organization that we set up. The participants in this have a fake profile of the organization with staff members with strategic prioritization of their security goals that they need to keep in mind when it comes to making those new workflows or change to the detection. This is the evaluation I'm really looking forward to, and it's probably the most complex that we have, and that's the market as well. If we go to now reporting and awards, um, I've spoken a lot about methodologies and evaluations, and I'll do a lot more content around this later on. I hope that I'll see a lot of awards like that. To give you a preview of the reports, we have what we call an executive report, which is easy to digest, and it's also customizable for each solution tested and each evaluation to showcase their strength and their weaknesses. It's important to give the readers of this enough information to get okay, this is how the product would act in my given environment. And a lot of the times that data is buried in an appendix or in some detail. Let's be honest, a lot of readers look at the first table, they see the reward, and then they move on. But if you stick it all in a PDF, sometimes you can't have the flexibility you need to give information such as the attacker tradecraft or the configuration or the responses and so on. So we will be hosting all of that on our GitHub, where you will get to see more information and you can sort of build more reports based on that information. In terms of grading, right now we've decided to go with S as being the top mark, as sort of a tier system where the S-rated products are really in a league of their own compared to everybody else. From experience, when it comes to especially enterprise products, where hey, why aren't you considering X solution or Y solution? The discussion usually goes like, oh well, these are the ones that are in the same sort of whatever you want to call it, quadrant or tier and so on. So usually products in that S rank will do the job fine. There'll just be a very small differences between the two. Yeah, I think that's all I have to cover here. So what's upcoming? I have 5 minutes left here. We have public reports that are going to be coming, and I hope that we will be able to run them through the AMTSO standard for the APT evaluation, and these will be under sort of POC style evaluations to showcase what the report will look like, what the the GitHub repo and the sort of information that participants should expect and consumers of the reports. At the same time, like I said at the start, we are always looking to be on the sort of edge of new developments. So like I mentioned before, when it comes to scamming and phishing, I really hope that we can get something going there through AMTSO. It's something that I've always been grateful for the forum that we have here, where we have a combination of vendors and testers, so where we can exchange ideas of how we should go about dealing with a certain new technology. The real world protection side of testing as well is something that we will tackle, as it's a core for most third-party testers. And of course, I've personally done a lot of work on the VPN performance working group with the help of the NordVPN guys and Kaspersky and everybody who was part of it. So we will be publishing evaluations on that side as well very soon. Yeah, just a huge congratulations to the Sandbox evaluation framework that is now up for voting. I think the paper is looking very great, and I know there was a lot of work that went into it. So we're looking to explore that as well in the future. I think that is it, and I should be bang on. Those of you who know me know that I really appreciate any sort of feedback, comments, hopefully constructive criticism, not just hate. You have my email, my new email now. You have our website over there. Please reach out, even if it's just to say, hey, I think this methodology is crap. Tell me why, and tell me why you think it's that way. I'm always more than happy to listen, and if we can make improvements in any way, I really always strive for that. Yeah, I think we have a couple of minutes for questions.